Urban mining is a concept that comes up as a reaction to the unprecedented growth of global level material extraction. Over the last 50 years, global resource extraction has tripled. This trend shows no sign of leveling off. This huge growth makes our economic system crack at the seams. Problems arise with resource supply, which has difficulty keeping up with the demand. Problems arise with waste generation, huge amounts ending up in the environment, causing damage to ecosystems of all kinds. Problems arise with environmental pressure, especially but not exclusively related to greenhouse gas emissions. These events, also referred to as the resource challenge, are quite dramatic. They ask for solutions that are equally dramatic, in the sense that really large changes need to happen in the way that we extract and use resources. A circular economy is presented as a way out. A circular economy means basically that we do not waste resources. After the useful life of a product, we don't throw it away to end up on a landfill, but we bring it back in the economy. Reuse and second-hand use is important. So is repair, refurbishing, and remanufacturing, discussed in other parts of this MOOC. If the products can't be kept alive, the material is recovered and via recycling put back into the production system. This should enable us to fulfill demand with a much lower extraction of new resources from the environment. Urban mining is a concept that fits within the circular economy. It means considering the materials and products that are presently in use as potential resources for the future. Unfortunately, our knowledge about those in-use stocks of materials is limited. We have good information on mining, but we lose track of the materials in an early stage of the supply chain. Basically, the materials end up somewhere in the urban environment, but we don't know how much or in what products, and we certainly don't know when it will come out or in what shape. It is very important to understand the dynamics of the urban mine a bit better if we want to make plans to access it. The picture next to me shows a forecast of stocks of steel in residential buildings until 2050. It can be seen that these stocks will keep on growing, but not exponentially. The fastest growth is already behind us, the build-up of China's infrastructure. That development has dominated the global picture because of its very large scale and its very fast progressing. Other countries are still to come, although it's not expected they will develop as rapidly as China has. This slowing down of stock growth is important. Here we see the development of China's stock of residential buildings, not in tons, but in square meters of useful floor area. And we see the inflows into that stock in green and the outflows in red from 1970 until 2050. The inflow during the 2000s show wild fluctuations and huge peaks. Here we see the enormous effort that China has put into the expansion of their stock of buildings. Already that phase is over. The inflows have dropped to a very much lower level while the stock levels off. We are now entering the period where the stock no longer grows and therefore the inflow can drop to the level of maintenance. Interesting to see is that the outflow starts to match the inflow around the year 2035. That means that in theory, the Chinese built environment could become circular from then on. So, two conditions for circularity. The first is that the stock stops growing, that it saturates. That happens when population does not no longer grow. The second is that all of the outflow, or as much as possible, is recycled or reused in some way. So, go for the urban mine in a big way. Then, and only then, is it possible to drop primary production to a very much lower level. This means that the circular economy is a very long-term agenda, similar to the climate change agenda. In the meantime, we will still need primary production. Circular economy is not a silver bullet, but a long-term solution that we have to work hard on.